And it's showtime. Welcome to the channel. My name is Kubeir. I'm a CICC licensed immigration consultant, and we are finally back online doing the weekly roundup after a 2-week break because, honestly speaking, I was totally jet lagged. I was totally finished, just couldn't manage all the travel pressure that was taking on me. But I'm glad to be back finally, and lovely day outside. It's been snowing, and it's a snowstorm for the last from since yesterday, and hopefully everybody stays safe. But we are back here talking about what we usually do and normally do, and that is about Canadian immigration. Christmas Eve. So whoever is celebrating, I wish you a Merry Christmas, and obviously for everybody else, Happy Holidays. Obviously, IRCC played a serious spoil sport. We were hoping for a much better Christmas had IRCC played to the rule book, but obviously they do not. They like to do these things, right? If you guys do remember, 2020, December 23rd was the last express entry draw for all program that they conducted, and then they basically went into hiding. But then they did come back and conduct the draws again this year. And this year, for this month at least, for December, we haven't seen any express entry draws, which has obviously made a lot of people nervous. We're going to talk about all of this as we go into this episode. But to start with, let's start with our weekly roundup. Starting with the quote of the week: believe in yourself and all that you are. Know that there is something inside you that is greater than any obstacle out there, says Christian Larson. Great quote. I love it absolutely. Until and unless you seek down inside yourself and bring out everything that makes you tick the way you should be ticking, and just look for that inspiration inside. Sometimes we look or we seek for those things outside when it might very well be within inside you. So believe in yourself, have the faith, keep the faith, keep the hope alive, and hopefully things will work out the way you want them to work out. But obviously you need to also put in the hard work and the effort, right? Right, so this is the Canadian Immigration Weekly Roundup. Stay up to date on the Canadian immigration news and trends. And obviously, as you can see, we are in a bit of a Christmas mood today. We did also have the Santa hat and the elf hat as well. But then I decided not to because I spoiled my hair. So, but when I was looking at this one, and let's talk about this for a bit. Initially, this is obviously an elf hat, and I thought I'm going to wear this because we're the Santa's elf kind of thing. But then I also realized green also represents Grinch, and then at this point of time, the only Grinch who's playing the spoil sport is IRCC. And since we didn't want to sort of do that, so we let that be. Topics of discussion today would be the PNP updates, the other news, of course, that we have some of it, and the question and answers. So hold your questions till we get to that stage. Starting with the PNP draws. PNP is what active. Ontario was quite active. Just to also let you know, Ontario at this point of time has completed their annual quota of nomination, which was 9,750 for this year. So yay, Ontario, good job with that one. So obviously within this week until the end of this year, do not expect any more nominations coming from Ontario. On the December 20th, Ontario finally issued the letters of interest to candidates under the human capital priority stream because everybody was anxiously waiting for this. Though the excitement or the wait was for the general priority occupation stream. However, Ontario did conduct the draw, and that was for the targeted tech draw, and the tech occupations, the 6 occupations now that have increased from 6 to I think 7 because of the changes in the knock in the tier system. The targeted occupation draw for this particular segment was at the CRS score of 484 to 490. The total number of letters that they've issued, I couldn't find that. Probably it's there on the website. Maybe I skipped that. But these people who received the invitations obviously had to be in the express entry pool, and they had to have the scores between 484 and 490, and their knock code had to be one of these. So now there are 3 and 3, 6, 8 knock codes. Earlier there were 6. So you have data scientists, software engineers, computer system developers, software developers, web designers, database analysts, and computer engineers. Earlier, as I said, there were 6 knock codes. Now they have these knock codes as well because these are as per the new tier system. So basically, it wouldn't have changed much from the previous to the previous knock codes to this. It's just that there are 2 additional knock codes here. British Columbia also conducted their PNP draw on the 20th of December. They invited candidates with a minimum SIRS score of 90, which is pretty good. So 90 is always good. They invited 153 people under this targeted draw. The occupations were under the healthcare, childhood educators, and for that specific draw that they conducted for the healthcare, childhood educators, and assistants, the requirement was only 60. Saskatchewan also conducted a draw on the 21st of December, and their most recent draw invited 153 candidates in the express entry segment and 315 under the occupation and demand stream. 468 total invitations issued, and the required minimum points was 80. Now, for some people who are not aware, for Saskatchewan, in order to score 80 points, you should obviously have either a job offer in the province, or you should have a close relative in the province. And for people who have been able to score 70, if you can also add French and ace French and get the maximum points, then also you can get 10 more, and then also you can become 80. So 80 is possible for people outside Canada, without a job offer, of course, but you will need to ace your French exam in that one. Prince Edward Islands conducted their draw on the December 15th. Now, this is a scheduled draw. They always schedule their draws earlier, and it is already notified on their website. 127 candidates were invited. If you did not get invited, do not worry too much about it. They have a very small quota. As you can see, they have invited already, they have already processed and invited 1,854 candidates this year. They usually tend to prefer people who are already inside the province. So yeah, don't stress too much about it if you didn't get invited by Prince Edward Islands. In other news, and of course we have some other news, express entry scores in 2022 it's now become a joke with regards to the express entry scores, because in this year in July they did return back. So the express entry draws did come back, and since there was a hiatus since the December 23rd, 2020, as I was talking to you about earlier, the general category or the general draws, or rather all program draws in express entry, were obviously resumed from the 6th of July. And as of now, they have invited, I think about 36,000 invitations have been sent since that particular day. Before that, the reason given for all the pause was COVID and all those issues, but that's how the excuses have been given out. The last drawn score, as we all know, at 491. But hold on, we'll talk about express entry in a bit. So obviously the scores have been dropping. It started with 547 or 57. I forget that as well. And from there on, let's see this. It started at 557, not 547. It came to 542, 533, 25, 516, 510, 504, 500, 496, 494, and 491. Now, the problem is 23rd November was the last express entry draw. And from there on, it has gone into silence. And what happened is, express entry, there was absolutely no draw. There was a draw expected on the 7th of December. There was no draw. There was a draw expected on the 21st of December. Again, there was no draw. But let's take a bit of look at the numbers again, just to remind ourselves. The last draw was on the 23rd of November, which was the 24th draw of 2022. So basically, so far, only 24 draws have taken place this year. Usually, on an average, they would issue 25 to 26 draws. So we still have a week to go. I'm not sure if IRCC is planning a Christmas miracle, but that would be quite unlike IRCC. But you never know, miracles do happen. 4,750 invitations were issued in this specific draw. This was the 11th draw all program since the 6th of July. And this was the pool breakdown. Now, the pool breakdown is where it becomes very interesting. Between 501 to 600, 1,227 candidates existed on the 22nd of November. Of course, with the draw on the 23rd of November, this pool would have cleared out of all these profiles. So don't fret about it. Keep in mind that this was as of 22nd of November, and then the draw was on the 23rd. So these profiles are already cleared out. We do not have the latest pool breakdown. So we're just going to make do with this one, just to sort of talk about the bit of numbers here. 491 to 500, there were 3,031 people. So obviously, most of these were also cleared out because the draw size was 4,750. But look at the number at 481 and 490, 10,000 people. Look at the number between 471 and 480, 19,494. So basically, below 490, you have more than 30,000 people who have been waiting, below 490. I'm talking about between 470 and 490. Between those 20 points, you have about 30,000 people waiting. Let's move forward. This is not interest. This is of no interest. So key analysis points as of 23rd of November was that the number of people who were still in the express entry pool with 491 and above at that point of time was 384. We just calculated the numbers, pluses and minuses, that's all. But again, this number is never exact because the express entry pool is dynamic. People keep getting added. The number of people who got added into the express entry pool as of that date was 2,100 with scores of 500 plus. That's a lot of profiles. And over the last few draws that we have been seeing, this has been of the biggest, this has stood out very, very clearly as to where are these people coming from. I mean, scores of 500, to be very honest, is incredible score. I mean, how do you score 500 plus? Let's talk about that for a bit. How do you score 500? So if you are 29 years old, because at 30 you start losing points, we are talking at where you can get the maximum points. Okay, so you're 29 years old, you score CLB 10, not 9, CLB 10. So no longer the magic score of 8,777. We have gone one step ahead. So 8.5, 8, 7.5, 7.5, those kind of scores. If you're able to score that, then you're at CLB 10. With 3 years of work experience, 29 years of age, master's degree, the maximum you can score is 481, not 482, not 483, 481, provided you have no Canadian connection and the no sibling, no Canadian connection, and of course you do not have any French points as well. So 481 is the maximum you can score. So that's what scares me. If 481 is the maximum anybody out there can score without French as a component or without Canadian connection, and the scores this year did not go below 491 as of right now, and nearly 37,000 invitations have already been issued. It's something to be, to sort of wake up and look at the scores, because a lot of people don't look at the numbers. They're just sort of guesstimating and they're just sort of bringing up these numbers. Oh, what about 475? Oh, what about 481? Oh, what about this? Oh, yes, you will get it next week. Yes, next draw. Yes, next month. How? Look at the numbers. The numbers are scary at this point of time. And no, the whole episode today is not to scare you, but to sort of shake you up, wake you up, and make you sort of smell the coffee and see the numbers, because these numbers are telling the different story than what a lot of people would be telling you otherwise. So if you are outside Canada, the maximum you can score with a master's degree is 481. Now, if you have a PhD, then yes, you can go up to 496, I think 495, 496. That is the maximum you can go, again with the same profile, 29 years of age, 3 years of work experience, PhD, and a CLB 10 IELTS, not CLB 9, CLB 10. Okay, that's the maximum you can go. Now, start adding components. You're a master's degree, 481, 29 years of age. If you have a sibling, 15 points, so 496. Now, this is where it gets interesting. If you add French as a second language, and you ace French, and you get good scores in French, and therefore you now have the opportunity to improve your scores by up to 60, 62 points. Now that is where a big leap in the points can be taken. Not only can you take leap of the scores in the points in express entry, there is Ontario's French speakers stream. There is extra points in Saskatchewan that you can take advantage of. There is New Brunswick Francophone Strategic Initiative. There is Nova Scotia, which is also preparing for a French speaker stream. Alberta and British Columbia are also working on something of that sort. So, learning French can do amazing wonders for your score and for your possibilities and prospects to come to Canada. So French has, over my last trip that I've just been to in India and different cities there as well, this has been the biggest mantra. Please, if you wish to make Canada your dream come true, then French is going to be the way to make it happen. That's the cheapest, that's the fastest, that's the most simplest, straightforward option. I know it's not easy, that's for sure. It's not definitely going to be easy, but then, hey, if you want to make things happen for you, when has that ever been easy? It was easy for some people earlier, not so anymore, but because again, it's like a rat race, like it's like demand and supply. Huge demand, limited supply, the numbers don't add up, and therefore you got to do what you got to do, and therefore what I'm saying is take up French as a second language. Now, going back to those numbers here. Now, initially, we were anticipating the next draw would be, again, if 4,750 invitations would be issued, the score would be 492 at 494. But I don't think so anymore. I think this number is going to be not 492 to 494. I think this slide was taken off after the last draw, which didn't happen. Then another draw didn't happen. Now this number is going to be closer to 500. So whenever the next draw happens, hopefully now we are looking forward to the 4th of January as the prospective next draw. And if that happens, fingers are crossed, I hope that happens, then you're looking at a score of 500-ish. I can't say how much, but that is what it looks like, because simply keeping in mind, if 2,000 plus people were getting added into the express entry pool, 2 draws haven't happened. So 2 plus 2 is approximately 4,000 people who got added into the express entry pool, give or take. Obviously, a lot of people have received nominations as well. So that number is quite variable. So you're looking at a 500-ish kind of a score. Could be 490s in the sense like between 498 to 502. That's where I would put it as the expected score for the next draw if it was to happen on the 4th of January. When would the scores drop again below to 490s? Below 490 is now not Jan for sure. It's possibly going to be February, moved that by a month because everything has been moved by a month. Now, why did the draws not happen? Well, in my opinion, personal opinion, I think the glitches are still existing. There are still a lot of glitches that IRCC hasn't really sorted out. We are seeing a lot of people, obviously a lot of people were able to claim their points back, which they were not able to earlier for spouses, Canadian work experience, and for some other factors. But there have been a lot of people who were unable to do that. The profile points were missing, spouses' entire profiles were missing, and those details were still not being updated. And because of those issues, I think, my opinion, IRCC still did not conduct a draw because they got a lot of flack after they did conduct the draw the first time on the 23rd of November, because a lot of people who shouldn't have received an ITA received an ITA. A lot of people who should have received an ITA because their scores were high enough, they didn't get an ITA. In both the situations, bahut nainsafi aisa. So that basically didn't really work very well. And it's not like IRCC who's going to come out and communicate with you and tell you that this is what has happened, this is what we're doing about it. No, they don't like to talk to people. They like to go into hiding and sort of, just try and figure out what they can do. So hopefully, fingers are crossed. Let's see, 4th of January should be the next draw when we can see the scores coming back. Let's see, where are we there? All right. So the future trends, as of 6th July, 35,750 invitations have already been issued. In the year 2022, so far 46,000 invitations have been issued. Obviously, the knock system is the reason, or the knock from the knock 2021, the tier system is the reason why the glitches have been caused, as yours truly has been saying. But obviously, we were not hoping that the pause would be for so long. 2 draws is a big pause, and that's really scary. But remaining draws in 2022, I mean, again, that slide is a bit old. It's not 1 or 2. I don't think there would be any more draws this year because we just have 1 more week left. Most of it is going to go away in holidays. I think prospectively, you have 3 working days left in this year, 28th, 29th, and 30th. 28th is a Wednesday, and Wednesdays, you can, hopefully keep fingers crossed and see if that is something which IRCC surprises us on. Fingers are crossed, as I said. Now, Bill C-19 is something else which has been bothering a lot of people. They saw some article and they said, okay, early January, and everybody started thinking, early 2023, and everybody started saying Jan is when it is going to be implemented, and these draws have been put on pause because they want to implement Bill C-19. Well, that is not true. And the reason why it is not true, and I just want to take a moment because I did not prepare that document and I want to see if I can find it, because I would like to show you, because there is so much of talk about this issue that it is really, really, I found it, hold on. That it is really bothering a lot of people. And I want to show this to you as to where does IRCC say that they are not going to be ready until sometime before, at least until spring, and until they are ready, they would not be able to, do that. Just give me 1 moment. I'm going to pick this up and see if I can find it. I can find it. Yes. Thank you. While it loads up. So what IRCC said, first of all, what is Bill C-19? Bill C-19 is was the motion passed in the parliament which would allow IRCC to conduct these draws which are occupation specific. Not only occupation specific, they would also be category specific. And based on this, the minister would be able to choose who they wish to invite from the express entry pool. Now, this is obviously creating a lot of flutter. This is obviously creating a lot of tensions. And I have been able to open it. I'm just going to share this so I can show this to you. Okay, yeah, this is where it is. Now, this was the document. Let's get rid of this. Let's make this bigger. This was the document that was prepared by IRCC in reference to motion M44. Now, motion M44 was tabled in the parliament by Surrey MP Randeep Sarai, whereby he tabled a motion asking that more priority be given to certain categories of people who are inside Canada and who are under certain occupations. Now, after a lot of deliberation of 120 days, IRCC came up with this particular document. It is called Strategies to Expand Transitions to Permanent Residency. And in this is in response to motion M44. There were total 39 pages. I have just taken down few pages because the rest was all propaganda or agenda that they wanted to sort of talk about. But here, I will show you where it is talking about Bill C-19 and how this would be added. Just give me one moment till I find that. All right, here it is, 4.2. In order to increase the flexibility in the immigration system and address the labor market, this is going to be done via Bill C-19, which would give the minister the authority to establish categories of candidates with particular attributes. We don't know what those attributes are, and invite the top ranking among them, okay, to apply for permanent residence. So you need to read this in context and understand what IRCC is saying. What they're saying is they will create different categories, occupation-based or different attribute-based. And amongst those categories, they would conduct a draw, and whoever is a top-ranking profiles amongst those categories, those would be invited for permanent residence. Okay, the department is assessing how best to use this new tool to meet this requirement. And here, this is where it says in clarity. The legislation requires that the categories be linked to the attainment of an economic goal, that the minister consult with partners and stakeholders prior to establishing a category, and that minister report on an annual basis to the parliament regarding the usage of the new authorities. Now, which is very, very important, which I need you to understand before you start running around and telling everybody that it will happen in Jan. It cannot happen in Jan. The reason for this is, as per the law, and that is section 10. You know what, I'm going to share with you the law as well, because otherwise you will say we don't know where this is. And where is the page for the law? I'll have to stop the screen then. Hold on. So we'll stop the screen, yes, and we will share the other screen where it says, there you go. This is your Immigration Refugee Protection Act. This is the law basically, okay? And here, let me just make this slightly bigger so you can all see clearly. This is section 10 of the law. We'll go to section 10.5, which is, oh, where is it gone? It's gonna be the next page, so I'm gonna scroll down quickly. Sorry about that, guys. This is all last minute since we are discussing about this right now. We have lost section 10.5. Next page. Oh, previous page. We lost section 10.5, exception. Where did we go? Oh boy. I'm on the wrong section, I think. Hold on. It's not this one. Hold on. Oh, sorry, because we are in the regulations. We should have been on the act. Sorry about that. Sorry about that. Let me find you the 10.5 of the act. Otherwise, this becomes very, very confusing. Okay, I have found it now. as per the act here, this is 10.3, 10. Oh boy, come on, 10.4 and 10.5. Now, 10.5 here says consultation process. The purpose of establishing categories of eligible foreign nationals under the paragraph, the minister must engage in public consultation. It has to be a public consultation. That is one of the most important factor. So basically, you would know it has to be discussed. And they would include the provinces, the territories, the industry, the unions, the employers, the workers, the advocacy groups, settlement provider organization, immigration researchers, and practitioners, that is us and the lawyers, of course, to obtain information, advice, and recommendation in respect to the labor market conditions, including occupations expected to face shortage conditions, as well as how categories can be formed to meet the economic goals. And when will this happen? The minister shall cause to be tabled before each house of parliament no later than the fifth sitting day of that house after January 31st, following the end of each fiscal year. A report containing the list of categories of eligible foreign nationals, establishment and instruction made, and the selection criteria and the process applied for the establishment of these categories. So this is where it says in the law, IRCC cannot go against the law. They have to follow the law. And this is where the law says very clearly that in fifth sitting day of the each house in the parliament after 31st of January. So that's the first one. So it cannot happen in January because, hey, IRCC hasn't published the categories, which by law they first have to do that, which can only happen technically by February. So that is the first thing. Poof. By until February, Bill C-19 is not coming. Okay. Now the next one, again, back to what we were talking about. Let me stop this. Bring back the earlier one. Yeah. Okay. Now, again, back to the document which we were talking about, the 39 pages. Now, here it says in the second paragraph, the implementation of these new authorities will require changes to the IRCC's IT system. Duh. I mean, IRCC's IT systems, if you were to believe them in any manner, then you know what kind of a fiasco they can create. Look at what is happening right now, like 2 weeks, no draw, because they just could not manage the tier system changes, which they knew they had to do for almost 1 year, maybe more than 1 year, and yet such a mess. Anyways, the exact timing, the one which has been highlighted in red, the exact timing of the implementation for this measure has yet to be determined. However, IRCC anticipates these changes will be in place by spring 2023. If these changes will be in place only by spring 2023, how in the world can the draws under this new category system be in January? Now, do you understand what I'm saying? Because when you start reading these articles, you let your emotions run high. When you come to our Facebook group, somebody comments, somebody posts, and people just get into a debate when they don't really understand where this is coming from. You have to always go back to the basics. You have to go to the root of where this information is coming from. And once you are there, you will then understand where the problem is or where the information is. Therefore, please, now that you know it, Bill C-19 is not going to be in force, in effect, in implementation until at least spring 2023. So when is spring? 20th of March 2023 is the start of the spring. I doubt it very, very much that IRCC in all its fame and glory will be ready by March 2023. I doubt it very, very, very much, which basically means first of all, the categories have to be announced. First of all, they have to announce what are these categories, which, if everything goes well, should happen in February. Okay. Once you know these categories, then you can freak out if you want to, or be happy if you want to. But then you would know and have a much better picture as to what to expect in the coming forward in the year. However, Bill C-19 is, in my opinion, not going to happen anytime until I would actually go to the extent of saying after the spring. Because I don't have faith in the IRCC's systems. I do not have faith in the way they would actually go ahead and make this happen, because tier system, what are the glitches are, the mess and the fiasco that is, it's in front of everybody. So I would put my neck on the line and say probably May or later, April, May. I'm saying April only because, you never know. IRCC might be listening to all of this, because one of their staff members was attending one of our seminars. So you never know, like they might be keeping an eye on certain things. But I'm saying April, May, it won't happen before that. At least that's what I believe. That's what I think. Only for the reasons what I've just shared with you and showed you. So for people who are worrying about Bill C-19, you have 4 more months before you can start freaking out about that. And for the next 4 months, my opinion, my expectation, my assumption is that express entry draws in its current format will continue the way they are. And based on that, and only hoping and praying that IRCC continues to conduct the big size draws, the large size draws, the 4,750 kind of draws. And the reason why I'm saying that is because they cannot manage, they cannot sustain these high number of draws throughout the year. At some point of time, and historically speaking, and going by the trends again, by the numbers again, they start the new year with a very small number of draws size. So 2,000, 2,500, 3,000, and then they build it up coming to the middle of the year when the big draw sizes will happen. So I would be very interested to see what happens on the 4th of January. Will they continue with the big draw size of 4,750 or even 5,000, hopefully, because they did not conduct true draws? Would they do that? Or would they go back to their basics and go back to, reducing the draw size? Because if they reduce the draw size, boy, oh boy, this is going to create a fiasco in terms of the express entry draws and the numbers, because the scores are obviously going to stay above 500 in that case. So fingers crossed. Hopefully, you never know, next week IRCC might just throw a beautiful miracle out there, or a surprise factor out there, but I'm not going to count on that. So the next draw I'm hoping would be a 4th of January, if at all that does happen. And scores are going to be in the range of 498 to 500-ish, provided they issue 4,750 invitations. If the scores are going to be, if the invitations are going to be less, then it's a trouble. On that note, if you received an invitation from Ontario under the Human Capital Priorities stream, and you're on the fence thinking, should I continue with the ITA? Should I wait for the draw? Don't wait for the draw. Go ahead. Oh boy. Okay, not sure what, sorry about that. Not sure what happened there. Okay, so if you have received a notification of interest from Ontario, don't hold back, don't wait, take it, run with it, move with it. Scores are looking very, very uncertain, and this could be that opportunity you don't want to miss out on. So Ontario, yes, Ontario, somebody just mentioned that. Yes, Ontario did also conduct a master's graduate stream draw, which happened also last week. About 700 plus ITAs were notifications of ITAs were issued. So if you received that draw or invitation, then congratulations, which is great. Again, if you are receiving any invitation from any province, run with it. Don't think about express entry at this point of time. It is extremely uncertain. Now, also on Twitter, I did mention that, in my opinion, in my speculation, in my humble opinion, things are looking very, very bleak for federal skilled workers as we move forward. And I've just explained to you the numbers, and I just explained to you why the scores are just not adding up. As we move forward, if you're a federal skilled worker, then French is going to be a great option for you to sort of take it up and move ahead with that. If you can choose to come to Canada as an international student and then use the student pathway and use that pathway to get through with international studies in Canada, and then the work permit, or finding an employer, then that's a great option. If you can find a job offer from outside Canada, then that's a great option. 3 options, that what you have. Apart from that, the scores are looking very daunting. The express entry draws, depending on how they conduct the draws next year, are also looking difficult, to be very honest. I don't anticipate they will continue issuing these big size draws. At some point of time, the numbers are going to come down. They would come down very well by the first draw of the next year, because they honestly can issue only 50 to 60,000 invitations per year. That's it, over 26 draws or 25 draws. So you can do the math. You will see the numbers don't add up, and therefore the number of draws per invitation, the number of invitations per draw has to come down. And once that comes down, the scores are going to keep remaining high, or will actually go up rather than come down, because of the number of people adding into the profile. That being said, a lot of people keep asking about the CEC draws and CEC draws. Well, for your information, the draws that are currently happening are basically CECs. I mean, if you haven't really figured that out, then I'm not sure what to tell you. But if you are expecting low CEC draws because IRCC did that last year, that's not going to happen. And the reason why that's not going to happen is because there are no numbers to add up to that. If the current draws are already almost CEC draws, why do you think IRCC will still do CEC specific draws? Because it doesn't make any sense, right? Again, a lot of people also asking with Francophone and the French, will it have impact with the Bill C-19? Yes, it will. Francophones are okay. So IRCC has this mandate to improve or increase the Francophone immigration in Canada. And because of that mandate, they will keep encouraging Francophones or French speakers into Canada. There is a notion that the immigration has to be increased by 14% for the Francophones. And with that being said, I absolutely am sure, if you were to read that document, which I just shared with you again, and there is a lot of mention about Francophones in there as well. I'm absolutely sure moving forward into the next year, when the Bill C-19 is indeed implemented, you will see Francophones being one of the categories that they would be showing a lot of interest in. And therefore, if you are a Francophone, you would have a definite advantage with the Bill C-19 implementation. So that's another one that you should be keeping in mind. Now, for people who, as I said, just talking about the CEC draws, now, at this point of time, there are more than 1 million people in Canada who are either the international students or foreign workers, and they're all looking for pathways for PR. This year itself, and sorry, coming back to our stream here, there were some numbers here which I seem to have lost. Where did it go? Yes. IRCC processed an all-time high applications. So this was another news that it was. Here it also tells you that IRCC has processed in the 2022, they have processed 7 lakh work permit applications and 670,000 study permit applications. That number again is not correct because this data was obtained a month back, which basically means that the data of November and December is not included. So that number is probably going to be higher. So if the number at this point of time in front of your eyes is about 13 lakh people were processed only this year, okay? You can imagine how many people are already there inside Canada and who are already international students and foreign workers. So the total number at this point of time is anticipated to be more than 1 million. So if there are more than 1 million people in Canada at this point of time who are temporary residents, who are actively seeking permanent residence, how will they become permanent residents? Because the annual quota per year is about 470,000, which is for this year. 461 for this, 475 for next year or whatever. But even with this 400,000 plus people, the economic category is about 200 some thousand people. So if the total number of quotas available for people to become permanent residents through the economic categories is only about 200,000 some, let's say 220,000 for sake of calculation or numbers, then how will 1 million people become permanent resident if the total available slots is only 220,000 people? It's a huge imbalance, which basically means even if you are inside Canada, even if you are CEC, your fight or your competition is now not without people outside Canada. So don't forget about FSW. FSW is not your competition. Your competition is now inside Canada, other CECs. If they are able to get a score higher than you, then you have no reason to complain that there are no CEC draws, because hey, CEC draws are happening. These draws also include CECs, and most of the people who are getting invited are primarily CECs. That is the reason they're going through. So you need to do if you are a CEC and who does not have a high score, two things you can do is, one, obviously improve your scores. Take up French to improve your scores if you can. Two, you find an employer who can support you in PNP and you run along with the PNP. Don't wait for a CEC. Don't wait for TR to PR. None of that is happening. None of that is coming. I know I do so many consultations each day out. I meet so many people. Everybody has the same concern. When would they get invited? And I'm telling you right now, it's going to be difficult. It's going to get very, very difficult. This is next year is probably going to lay it out for you as to how the face of Canadian immigration has completely changed over the last 5-6 years. No longer is it going to be a walk in the park, as a lot of people are making out to be. I mean, imagine I was in Dubai and I got a text from one of the agents over there saying, we will guarantee you get a PR in 6 months. And I'm like, how do you guarantee, I will get a PR in 6 months? And who the hell are you, first of all? And number two, How can you even guarantee something like this when you do not yourself understand what the whole thing is like? So I'm telling you right now, next year is going to be more difficult. Right now, what you can do is gear up yourself, improve your own factor points, improve your own profile if you can, find a job if you can. I know it's difficult, but it's not impossible. Improve French if you can, improve IELTS if you can, and all those in combination. And if at all ever you get an invitation from any provinces, including Alberta, don't let it go. Don't miss out on that. Don't mess with it, because that probably would be the only opportunity you get, because that's so important. And that's basically the end of my presentation. Connect with us on social media platforms: Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, of course. And if you are here, then do give us a thumbs up. Yeah, because hey, it's a season of Christmas. It's a season of joy. Give us a thumbs up. Give us this so that this video can go out to more people who can also understand how this looks like. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel, then you gotta subscribe to the channel. And here, what I over my trip in Dubai, and then India, over several cities, I did find something which was very, very endearing and touching, and I'm so touched by that one. And therefore, I would like to give out a huge shout out to all the dads, to all the fathers who are out there and who watch my videos. I love you guys, because over so many consultations with different people that I met, I realized it was the fathers, it was the dads who have been watching my videos and then telling their children, their daughters or their sons, as to what needs to be done with their application. And that's amazing. That's incredible. It's incredible that you guys are still doing this, and you guys are doing this for your children. I love you. Thank you so much. It really is humbling and touching. Thank you so much for that. From my side, I will continue doing what I can to bring you the latest understanding, analysis, trends, updates, news as we move forward into the next year. End of this year, which is next week, which would be the last day of the year, 31st of December, we will do another weekly roundup. In that weekly roundup, we will also sum up whatever has happened in this whole year. So it gives you a bit of an idea as to what happened, transpired in 2022, and what to anticipate as we move forward to 2023. But all that ends well is what I mean. If it ends well, then it obviously is quite well. And express entry, as I said, not so much at this point of time. But provinces, on the other hand, for the next year are looking really good. There is an increase in the quota by 20,000, which basically means provinces like Ontario, Alberta, Saskatchewan are all going to get a bump up in their numbers, which again directly transpires that a lot of people are going to get direct benefit of that. So just hoping that some of you are able to take advantage of that as well. Right, let's get on with the questions so that I can answer some of them that are here. Forever Pran, thank you so much for the super chat. Need your suggestions. I have Masters OINP nomination in hand with the CRS of 486. Received notification of Ontario for Ontario Human Capital Priorities. So thinking to apply as it is quick and compared to non-express Masters stream. I am absolutely with you on that. If you have a notification of interest for the Human Capital Priority stream, definitely proceed with that. But you see, this is the money that you are putting in. You've already spent money on your Masters Ontario nomination. You will now spend money on your Human Capital Priority stream. And obviously, you will then spend on your IRCC application. But trust me, it's all worth it. 486, don't wait for it. It's looking really dicey at this point of time. You have a notification of interest from Ontario, just go with it. Just take it, move ahead, move forward. You'll get your nomination in the next 2 to 3 months. Go with the express entry and you will get your PR, hopefully within the next 3 to 6 months. This time next year, you will be celebrating Christmas as a permanent resident. Fingers crossed. Good luck, my friend. All the best. Do we need to create EOI for Human Capital Priority stream? No, you don't. EOI is for people who are already inside Canada and who probably have a job offer. So they're from the job offer stream or they're from the Master's PhD stream. For people who are outside Canada, do not have a job offer, and wish to apply under the Human Capital Priority stream, you don't need to do anything at all. Just have an active express entry profile. Just make sure your primary knock code is the one that Ontario will probably show interest in, and that's when you will get your invitation. Ontario General PNP draws, they haven't conducted. No, you're right. They did complete their nomination quotas already. That was number one. Number two, we are anticipating they will start their draws hopefully next month. They have been very busy this year with the Alberta Accelerated Tech Pathway, and majority of their invitations have gone out to that stream. For that, you don't need to wait for the draw. You need to create your expression of interest if you're eligible, and you would get the notification of interest. The general draws they did not conduct for the last 4 months plus, and hopefully that should restart moving forward next year. 1 year of apprenticeship experience be considered from CEC, or it should be complete? I am not sure what you mean by it should be complete, but yes, 1 year of apprenticeship experience can be considered, provided you were on a work permit when you were working. That's the most important factor. And of course, you were paid. Change country of residence, asked IRCC to change through web form, did not hear back. Will I be asked to submit my PCC again? No, you will not be asked to submit your PCC again, unless, of course, your earlier PCCs have expired and your criminality checks have expired. But no, if you change your address, you don't need to provide another PCC. Can medicals and police clearance certificate be done before ITA? Technically, I mean, yes, of course, you can do them at any point of time, but while you can do your PCCs before ITA and they're valid for 6 months from the country of issue, if it's your country of residence, I would not recommend doing your medicals in advance because it offers you no advantage whatsoever. On the contrary, your visa validity would be linked to your medicals, because which is 12 months from the date they have been uploaded into the system. So you rather wait for your medicals, or rather wait to get your ITA and then complete your medicals than doing it earlier. What can be the expectation for a 32-year-old couple with CRS 461 or any alternative? We just spoke about that a bit earlier. I'm hoping you were listening to all that. Okay, get this one out from here. Could you please do an updated masterclass on landing for newcomers? Very nervous about the process. Kyria, we've done several videos and nothing has changed from there on. If you're coming to Canada, you just land with your passport and your COPR. Usually carry your proof of funds as well if you're FSW, because sometimes they might just ask. For proof of funds, you don't need to have all your documents, just the latest bank statement with the number which shows that the amount of funds are available, that's all. If you have any goods that will have to be followed later on or imported later on, then obviously carry a list or an Excel sheet which will show what goods those will be, and that's just about it. There is no complication, there is no issues. When you arrive in Canada, trust me, this is Canada. This is, people are really, really friendly. You would be asked to, purpose of your visit, you would be saying you are here for your permanent residence. You would be directed to a different counter over there. They would take your documents, ask you to wait. Once they've completed the processing, they will call you. They will ask you some statutory questions, which are like, do you have any criminal record, or you have been involved in any criminal activities? No. Do you have any serious medical condition? No. Are you married, or did your marital status change? No. Okay, thank you very much. They sign, you sign, welcome to Canada, you are now a permanent resident. That's just about it. There is nothing more complicated to it. There's no complication to it. There is nothing there are no complexities to it. And this is as simple as it gets. So you don't have to worry about it. Hop onto the next flight and you're welcome to Canada then. File for SOWP extension. In WP extension, it is mentioned that I'm authorized to work under the same condition, employer and occupation. Can I change my employer on implied status as it is open work permit? Yes, you can change those. What is written there is a generic text, so don't worry about it. You can change your employer. If your original conditions on the work permit was open, you can absolutely go ahead and do it, no problem. Sorry about that. There is no question here. The question is here. What are the chances of being invited with a CRS score of 496 prior to the initiation of Bill C-19 in the spring? It's very difficult for me to give you speculations on each type of or each score point, because it's not possible. There is no exact science to it. There are so many variables. There are so many unknowns. There are so many assumptions. To be very honest, my biggest concern is how many invitations will be issued by IRCC as we move forward. If the number of invitations being issued are less, then that's a concern, which basically means the scores are going to remain high. They might actually increase rather than decreasing. If IRCC continues with the big draw size of 4,750, then I'm quite positive that you would hit 496 prior to the Bill C-19 in the spring or post-spring. Okay, my PCC was received in June 2021. Is it still valid as I have received IT in the last row? I'm a bit confused on PCC expiry. Never went to India after PCC. if you received your PCC, or if it was issued while you were outside India, okay, that is the most important bit. The PCC should have been issued after you were outside India, or after you had traveled outside India, or you were outside India and you haven't traveled back, then the PCC remains valid. You can add a letter of explanation or a cover letter to the police clearance that you're uploading, stating that this police clearance is valid since you got it after you left the country and you haven't returned back. So that is all that you can do, and this would be fine. There's no problem with that. Okay. Landing in Canada on the 16th, medicals expiry 8th. If I redo my medicals, do I need any letter from IRCC? No, you don't need any letter from IRCC. You will simply need to raise a web form and let IRCC know about your medicals. My 3-year work experience in India also includes 22 days at KPMG. Every day counts. Should I mention this in my EE profile? Add to the total work experience. If you're going to be claiming work experience points for your work period with KPMG, then you will need to provide all the documentation with KPMG. If you're not going to be doing that, then you will need to mention it in your personal history and no documents are required. Do you expect the draw sizes to be significantly smaller than 4750 if they resume in Jan? Well, I am afraid I do. I'm sorry, but yes, I do expect that the draw sizes would drop. They would be smaller. And if the draw sizes are smaller, then that's a concern. Application approved in June 2022 as per the web form reply, but no mail received in inbox as well as spam folder. There is no response. What should we do? Well, what you can do is you can call IRCC and check on that. But if you haven't received a message for your passport request, then you will simply have to wait. I know you are quite anxious and, of course, excited at the same time. But you will have to wait for them to come back to you and provide you with that passport request. If you already raised a web form, then that's the maximum you can do. As I said, you can also call them and check with them. The call center agents can then put a note in your file, which might trigger a request for a new letter for you. Okay, for 2 years master's program, proof of funds equal to total tuition fees and living expenses for 2 years, or tuition fee plus living expense for 1 year is enough. Okay, you need to show that you have funds available for your first year. That's the most critical factor. That's the requirement for the application. In addition to that, you also need to be able to prove that you will be able to provide funds, or you will be able to pay the fee for the second year. Now, how do you show that? Would be by the fact of your capability of kind of finances or funds or assets you may have, or whoever is supporting you. That is how you would go about doing this. I would like to apply for CEC. My 1 year experience ends on the 10th of Jan. However, I will not get the pay statement for that until the end of Jan. Can I apply without it? Yes, you can. There is no problem with it. If IRCC wants it, then they will ask for it and you can provide it at a later date. There's no problem with that. Do you think draws will resume or will it be paused? I think we discussed that in detail already. I filed for extension 2 months ago. We just did this. Okay, my work permit is expiring in May 23. If no ITA comes, can I apply for fake extension, or do I need to restore status first? Well, you will need to restore your status only after you have lost your status. If you apply for extension while your current work permit is still valid, then you go on a maintained status or implied status. And therefore, until your extension application is refused, you will continue to be in status, which is the implied status. Only after your extension has been refused will you go out of status, and that is when you need to restore your status. I applied for notes in May 2022, didn't receive them. What's the average processing time? I know that is ridiculous. There is, to be very honest, there is no longer any process times for the notes. What you can do is instead apply for the CBSA notes. CBSA notes are getting through faster, and you will still have the information you're looking for. Can French language be advantageous after the implementation of Bill C-19? In my opinion, yes, it would be for sure. My third week as a permanent resident, don't have a job. Can I still sponsor my child and spouse without the job and pay slips? If yes, having no job, does that impact the decision? So sponsoring your child, sponsoring your wife, sponsoring a spouse without a job is absolutely fine. There is no issues with it. There is no requirement of any income or job in order to sponsor your your spouse or your child or your dependent child. What you still need to provide is a support plan. You will need to provide documentation to show how will you support your dependents that you are sponsoring. That is what would be required. So you need to still provide proof of funds. You need to show funds that are available to you. You will need to show your resume, and you will have to explain your employability, show you're attending interviews, and that in combination will still work. No problem with that. Okay, some same questions. If I need to stay in Canada after my postgraduate work permit expires, can I apply for visitor visa to stay in Canada? Okay, so I would like to correct you and several other people who are confused with this. If you are on a postgraduate work permit, if it expires or if it is nearing expiry, what you can do is you can apply for change of status, or you can apply for a visitor record to continue staying in Canada as a visitor. You don't apply for a visitor visa. Visitor visa is for you, which is stamped in your passport. It is meant for you to allow your entry into Canada. Okay. If you apply for a visitor visa, that does not mean you can continue staying in Canada, because your status is now expired. Your status was a worker. Now you have no status. You applied for visitor visa. That means nothing. That just basically means you applied for a visa to re-enter Canada. So please do not confuse yourself. If your postgraduate work permit is expiring, you will need to apply for change of status to a visitor, which is also called as applying for visitor record. That is very important. And yes, you can do that. There is no problem with that. Okay, did that already. Did this. Do we need? Okay, did that as well. A lot of questions which are same. Okay, I applied for study permit on the 17th of June, which was rejected. I reapplied and I was granted a study visa. Now I'm in Canada. Can I work full-time or part-time? Because you applied, which was approved on October 17th, which was after the 7th of October, you cannot work full-time. You can only work part-time, 20 hours a week. Love your input and follow-up. Thank you so much, Arjun. Appreciate it. CEC candidate with CRS 472, postgraduate work permit till 25. Employer is ready to process LMIA. Should I wait or go for LMIA? Go for LMIA. Don't wait. I'm in the process of learning French, but getting highly demotivated by Bill C-19. Do you think they will continue all program draws after Bill C-19? What advantage will Francophones have? I think we discussed that in detail. I hope you were listening. Okay. I was expecting an ITA 7th of December as I have 489. So I applied for my police clearance and now I got it. What should I do? Well, your police clearance is valid for 6 months from your country of residence. From outside, it is valid if you applied it from outside that country. Received ITA before the November 16, submitted my application after it, but now in my EE profile, the knock for all my jobs are missing and the work history section shows as in progress instead of transmitted. It's not a problem. Your profile is irrelevant after you get your invitation. What matters is your PR application that you filed, or EAPR, electronic application for permanent residence. And as long as you entered all the information correctly, as long as you provided all the documents correctly, you have nothing to be worried about. French is not easy, but impossible. Well, I don't agree with you at all. I know of several people who have actually taken up French from the scratch, studied hard, put in the effort, and they actually are now smiling with the scores of 500 plus. So no, I don't agree with that at all. It's definitely not easy, but it's not impossible either. I recently started a new job with an employer who can help for Saskatchewan. I know I met all my criteria under the I'm not sure what you're asking me. I've got 1 year of experience in Saskatchewan. PNP takes long. It doesn't matter if PNP takes long. What matters is that at least you will get it. You will get your permanent resident, and that's what matters. So please stick around, get it done, and absolutely move with it. The score of 519, do I have a chance to get an ITA before implementation of Bill C-19? In my opinion, yes, you have a great chance to get an ITA before Bill C-19 is implemented. My biometrics and medicals are done on 24th of November. No additional documents required. Now they sent an email to my employer. Can I expect PPR soon? Well, I hope you get a PPR soon, but I can't tell you how soon or not. Misrepresentation. Worked for 22 days in KPMG. No salary since less than 1 month. Notice, will it be misrepresentation if I don't add it in my e-profile? I'm really confused, Ravi, so I can't really answer that question. You are supposed to disclose all your work experience. If it is any work experience which did not gain you any points, then you can mention that period of work in your personal history. You do not need to provide any documentation. So if you're worried too much about this, then simply don't add it in your work history because you're not getting any points for it. Instead, show it in your personal history because that is where you need to disclose it anyways. Okay. 505 IELTS is expiring on 31st of December. Any chances of receiving ITA before 31st of December? Well, if you do receive an ITA before 31st of December, it will be a miracle, but because the draws are not anticipated anymore until the 4th of next month. There are 3 working days next week, but I doubt it very much that they would conduct a draw. If it happens, that would be great, and you can rejoice with that. How is the tie-breaking date set? Do we need job offer from Alberta for PNP? 2 different questions. Tie-breaking date set is done on the number of invitations being issued. On the date, the last invitation that is issued and the profile that has received it, that is the date and time for the tiebreaker set. As far as job offer is concerned, you don't need job offer for PNP for the express entry stream. You need job offer if you're trying to apply under the Alberta Accelerated Tech Pathway. Do you think 472 has any chance of PR either before or after Bill C-19? Well, we discussed the scores a bit earlier. You tell me, what do you think? This is the pool breakdown. Above 470, there are nearly 30,000, actually now going to be more, about nearly 40,000 people, not 40, 35 to 40,000 people. You tell me, do you think there is a chance for 472? I'm not going to answer that question because you can do the math yourself, and I'm sure you would be able to understand that. I don't want to sort of say yes or no to this. I simply don't know. It depends a lot on IRCC. But with 35,000 people up in ahead of you in the queue, the chances are definitely less at this point of time. I'm thinking of learning French, but highly demotivated by Bill C-19. Well, don't be. You should do it because it will help you in several manners. Not only Bill C-19, also through the PNPs. PNPs will also give a lot of advantage to the Francophones. So, you'll have an advantage there as well. I have submitted my express entry file. It's under process. Can I go back to India and come back? Is it true I have to give a PCC once I come back? If your application has already been submitted, now these are 2 different things. You have submitted your express entry. Now, submission of express entry, what does it mean? Have you created your profile, or is it you having submitted an application, you have an AOR? If you have just created your profile, and if you go to India and come back, you need a new PCC, yes. But if you have submitted your application, as in you have paid the fee and you have your AOR, and if you then travel, you don't need a PCC. Those are 2 different things. So you need to be clear about what you're saying. Okay. I'm FSW with Canadian Masters. Any chance I will get PR under Bill C-19? I don't know. We do not know what the categories are at this point of time. We got to wait and watch. My son has 497, having 2 years of experience in Canada, studying Canada's IT. Please inform how much time will be taken for PR. I can't tell you how much time will be taken for PR because first thing first is that he needs to get an invitation. To receive an invitation, you will have to wait for the next draw to see how the scores are. I recently got my GIC back. Study permit got refused. I'm expecting IT in the next draw. How can I justify this transaction? 10,000 together with 5,000 FD. Well, you will show that the money from your GIC was returned back and provide the copy of the transaction receipt. There's no problem with this. This is my 3rd week we just did this. Views for study in New Brunswick at the age of 40 years. Well, it's a great province. It has great programs as an international student. At the age of 40 years, it all depends how you justify in your application that you wish to study in Canada and how does it help you in your career and prospects. But if you're able to do that, then New Brunswick is a great province. There's no problem with that. Okay. My PCC was issued on the 5th of July. I have not gone back to India. Is my PCC valid if I receive an ITA? It is valid provided you were outside Canada when you received your PCC in the first place. As Canadian PR holder, can one work remotely for a job in the US while living in Canada? Yes, you can. There is no problem. The taxes will need to be paid in Canada because you are a tax resident. You will need to disclose your global income, but it's always better to discuss this with a tax consultant who can guide you better. Thank you for the super chat, Sukraj. My postgraduate work permit will expire on the 14th April. Should I apply fake extension and I have employer can provide LMIA? Well, because you still have 4 months to go, my suggestion would be to tell your employer to apply for the LMIA already. Hopefully, you'll get an LMIA before the expiry of your work permit. At that point of time, you can then apply for a proper work permit, not a fake extension, using that LMIA. Invited on the 9th of November, IELTS expiry is 5th December. Before submitting the docs, shall I reappear for IELTS, get an express entry, or shall I apply for work permit with LMIA? Today is the 24th of December. So if your IELTS expiry is on the 5th of December, then you have to retake your IELTS and you have to ensure you score the same so that your score of CRS 533 remains the same. Because when you submit your application, your CRS, even the recalculated CRS needs to be more than the drawn score. Otherwise, your application may be refused. Currently at 478, study visa or French. Well, if you can study in Canada, you can afford to pay the fee, then that. Otherwise, French would be much more cheaper. In my opinion, basically, I would do both. I would do French. I would study in Canada. I would also take up French because that would just give me a backup plan. Do employers actually wait for 3 to 6 months while all formalities are being done? Well, actually, they wait for much longer than that. So, yeah, I mean, if you are a good candidate, they would certainly do it. I have a CRS score of 475. Should I go for PNP? If you have a PNP, you should most definitely go for it. Don't wait. I'm 50 years old in BC. Since 1 year, I'm on a closed work permit. My education is 10th and my experience is overall 25 years on tier 2. My IELTS is overall 6. How can I apply for PR, please? Well, you should be able to check your eligibility under the BC PNP. If you have an option there, then you can apply under the BC PNP skilled worker stream. I'm at 469. Do you have any suggestion? 3 suggestions: study in Canada, take up French, or find a job offer. If you have a PNP, look at that option. Otherwise, 469 in express entry at this point of time looks extremely difficult. Anurit, thank you for the super chat. After Quebec PR, can I live in Montreal but work remotely for an employer in Toronto? And if one is on open work permit, can they do the same? If you're an open work permit, you can live and work anywhere in Canada. If you are a Quebec PR, you're living in Montreal, that's fine. You can work for an employer in Toronto. That is not a problem. All right, then. Thank you so much for joining in, people. This was, again, great doing it. We will see you again next week, of course, when we see you for the last day of the year and talk about what is going to happen, what has happened in 2022 and what will happen in 2023. Until such time, take care, and I shall see you next time. Stay safe, by the way.